As always, as we go down, if there's anything you would like to talk about, please just let me know and we'll stop. We do have plenty of the superintendent staff in here today. And before we get going, I would like to thank Dr. White personally for sitting in for me on this agenda meeting on Monday. I was out of town, but I do appreciate you sitting in. And so we do have a busy agenda here, a lot of public hearing on Monday night. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll move down. So number 2 will be the approval of the agenda, changes to agenda, and approval of the agenda. We have no recognitions, no visitors, and section 5 will be administrative personnel appointments. And 5.1, appointment of specialists, digital media and communications, management information systems. 5.2, appointment of assistant principal 1, 10-month, Choctawhatchee High School. 5.3, appointment of assistant principal 2, 10-month, Ruckel Middle School. And item 5.4, appointment of assistant principal 2, 10-month, Blue Water Elementary School. And Dr. Hale did send out the names of those folks that will be being appointed on Monday night. And then section 6, public comment. 6.1 will be members of the public desiring to address the school board. Form MIS 5241, public input and or discussion of agenda items. Section 7 is committee and staff report. 7.1, in-county travel paid for the period of June 24th through July 7th, 2021. 7.2, out-of-county travel paid for the period of June 24th through July 7th, 2021. 7.3, quarterly progress report of the Sales Tax Citizens Oversight Committee. And that was presented by Michelle Ankers, the committee chairperson. And section 8 will be consent agenda. 8.1, approval of the consent agenda. 8.2, approval of the minutes of the workshop meeting of July 8th, 2021. Minutes of regular meeting of July 12th, 2021. 8.3, appropriation of District 1 school board member capital outlay funds to Meigs Middle School for classroom flooring in the amount of $7,669.20. 8.4, appropriation of District 1 school board member capital outlay funds to Meigs Middle School for a classroom desk in the amount of $2,980.38. And those are presented by Dr. Lamar White for both of those items. 8.5, appropriation of District 2 school board member capital outlay funds for Meigs Middle School for classroom desk in the amount of $2,980.38, presented by Ms. Marty Gardner. And 8.6, appropriation of District 3 school board member capital outlay funds to Meigs Middle School for classroom desk in the amount of $2,980.38, presented by Ms. Linda Vanchek. 8.7, appropriation of District 4 school board member capital outlay funds to Meigs Middle School for classroom desk in the amount of $2,980.38, presented by myself. And 8.8, appropriation of District 5 school board member capital outlay funds to Meigs Middle School for classroom desk in the amount of $2,980.38, presented by Dr. Diane Kelly. Didn't take Ms. Bowell long to figure out the system there, did she?
I was just going to say that. I've seen these new principles, yes.
But what's really exciting is to see how all 5 of us
Yes.
contributed to that school there. So,
I do have a comment on,
Yes.
while we're on that, and since you stopped. Just briefly, as you see, she's asking for desks. And one of the things that prompted me to think about is desks are pretty basic for instruction. And I mentioned to Mr. Horton, since I've been on the board, I've never seen any kind of accounting of classroom furniture. And I was just wondering if we could have something on that, at some point, the status of where that furniture is, because although we're glad to help out this school, obviously we could not help every school with desks and even maybe other kinds of tables or whatever we need. So I would like to see at some point, after we get through budget and when we have some time, to have a kind of an accounting of that. And do we have like a schedule of replacing furniture, because her description was pretty bleak of the status of that furniture for students. And of course, if we don't know it, we can't help it. So that would be my concern.
And I appreciate that, and I can bring myself back to my principal days, and some of us can as well. And we all know desks were a very hard item to get, and you had to get additional funds. So just like the bus replacement program that we now have, we're also looking at that for desks. So in the ESSER 2 funds, we're actually putting a decent amount in ESSER 2 or ESSER 3, I'll just say the ESSER funds, in order to really put a dent in having new desks in our school district, because as you know, many of them are aged. And then after that, through our capital, making sure that we have money set aside so we can continue to make sure that our desks are up to date and worthy of being in those classrooms. So I appreciate that. So that's one of the things that we are looking at. Mr. Horton shared with me the conversation that y'all had, so absolutely appreciate that.
Good, thank you.
And may I just offer a little history? Long ago, the school district used to have a facility where we refurbished and redid desks, and of course, a very scarce item were teacher desks. But along with some other things that we used to do, we don't do any longer because of budget cuts and reductions in funds. And I'm sure that the folks at the warehouse do what they can with what we have. But we actually had some individuals that did that full time, and we used to keep all that stuff up at the old Holt School. And I well remember making some trips up there to pick up some of those items, and they look great because they were redone by our folks. So, but it's a real need. I understand.
And that was in the day too, when those furnishings were wood.
That's right.
And today they're
Yes.
plastic and metal.
Yeah, oh,
so-
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
And if we're
Not quite
looking
as
at,
durable.
I'm sorry. If we're looking at desk, also cafeteria furniture.
Tables.
Those are very expensive. And again, from previous experience, those didn't seem to hold up as well. And again, you've got 1,000 students sitting on them throughout the day, but cafeteria furniture, those long tables with the individual seats, that might be something else that the principals would greatly appreciate
Gotcha.
addressing. Thanks.
Took the note, yes, ma'am.
Now, Dr. White, you went to Beggs, right? Did you go to Beggs that one?
No, sir. I actually went to Pryor,
Pryor.
where my mother taught.
Okay.
But I lived in the Meg zone.
Right.
That's correct.
All right. So now we'll go to section, item 8.9, request to advertise a public hearing for revision of school board policies in Chapter 2, Fiscal Management, and Chapter 3, Instructional Matters. Will be presented by our attorney. 8.10, invoice to be approved for payment. 8.11, school donations. 8.12, payroll warrant register and accounts payable warrant register for June 2021 totaling $62,295,178.29, and bank transfers for June 2021 totaling $6,070,000. 8.13, emergency project to replace sewer and water lines at Okaloosa Technical College kitchen. 8.14, tag-on bid purchase over $25,000, AMN Allied Services LLC, Career Staff Unlimited, Community Rehab Associates Incorporated, Invo Healthcare Associates, Jackson Therapy Partners LLC, and Solient Healthcare LLC. 8.15, tag-on bid purchase over $25,000, Comprehensive Therapy Consultants, Kids Talk Place LLC, The Stepping Stones Group LLC. 8.16, exempted purchase over $25,000, Career Staff Unlimited and Innovative Employee Solutions Incorporated, Princeton Staffing Solutions. 8.17, exempted purchase over $25,000, Achieve 3000. 8.18, service agreement number 22-39, David Bricker. 8.19, service agreement number 22-40, Stephen Henson II. 8.20, service agreement number 22-41, Elizabeth Morgan. 8.21, service agreement number 22-42, Jason J. Peterson. 8.22, service agreement number 22-47, Gabriella Lako Mitchell. 8.23, exempted purchase over $25,000, Focus School Software. 8.24, sale of obsolete Apple devices to Diamond Assets. 8.25, grant award agreement between Triumph Gulf Coast Incorporated and the School Board of Okaloosa County, Florida. 8.26, youth services agreement between Career Source Okaloosa Walton and the School Board of Okaloosa County, Florida. 8.27, 2020 through 2021 State Equity Report.
Would Mr. Chapman like to come up and share the results? I mean, I think this is impressive. that-
Yep, Mr. Chapman is in the audience, so Mr. Chapman, if you would please, sir, come to the podium.
I think it's something worth sharing. No compliance is yes.
Well, good morning, Board.
Good morning.
Morning.
Just want to share a few of the highlights of our equity review. The most part I'd like to say is that everything was in compliance.
Yes.
That's a good thing. And also, as far as our student data piece goes, we're making progress. We're definitely, certainly not there yet, but we're still working towards that goal. Just a couple of things I want to point out. We are making improvement as well as far as with our employment. We are, and what I do like about the superintendent, we've had some discussions about the future and some things we're doing to increase minorities and those categories that's needed for the district. So he's got a great plan in place, and those things are moving forward, so I'm excited about that as well. Had a couple of schools out of compliance when it comes to athletics, but that is kind of normal. However, we do have a plan this year of following up with those schools who have plans in place to how to address those deficits and so forth. So I'm excited about being able to work with those schools as well to ensure that we continue to work towards the goal of being compliance. So with all that being said, I think we're in good shape. And as far as the district, always room for improvement. But I think we're heading in the right direction.
I think your key word was progress, and I think it's great progress when I read through this. And also, I think what I saw when you mentioned the high schools, 11 of the high schools were in compliance, and I think it was only 3 that were out of compliance, but that was only due to participation.
Correct.
Just maybe more students.
Correct.
Is that-
So,
it's, right, go ahead.
yes, I'm sorry. So when we say 11 schools, that's middle school and high schools. And out of all of those schools, we had only 3 out of compliance. And that is based totally upon the numbers as far as if a school has 50% female students, we want at least 50% or greater participating in athletics.
And that's Title IX we're talking about.
That's correct.
Perfect. And I was
Okay.
excited about it, and I love that it's being addressed, and the key word again, progress is being made, and again, we're addressing.
Absolutely.
Nice job.
Thank
You-
you.
You'll see in his report on the AP, the ACE, IB type courses, in most of the categories where we're making progress in terms of increasing the numbers in those areas. So I was pleased to see that as well.
That's good. Like the John Maxwell quote, progress, not perfection.
Absolutely. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you,
Great,
Steve.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
for
Chapman.
your work. Nice job.
Okay, so now we're to item 8.28, proposed increase in athletic event gate fees for Choctawhatchee High School for 2021 through 2022.
Will
And-
that make all of our high schools have the same price now,
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask too.
by chance, with that?
Now, of course, we understand that the schools, it's up to the schools to
Right.
make sure that they do their part.
Correct. It does bring the South End schools equivalent. Niceville is still a little bit lower. They have to go through their process and take it to their SAC to be able to do that. So we're probably looking at next year for them, but pretty much everybody's the same, but not exactly.
Right.
Because people find that important.
I understand.
And Chairman Bryant, if I
Yes.
could just ask
Of course.
another question. At the agenda meeting, there was some discussion regarding board policy in this particular matter, and I'm wondering if the superintendent and our attorney might take a look at that, and if there might be some adjustments that you would recommend, if they might bring those forward to us with the concurrence of the board.
We'll take a look at that.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Lightbourne. Thank you, Dr. White. Okay, so our item 8.29, Carl D. Perkins Secondary Entitlement Grant for fiscal year 2021 through 2022. 8.30, State of Florida Voluntary Pre-Kindergarten Education Program Statewide Provider Agreement for the fiscal year 2021 through 2022.
And I just would like to add and to thank, I know Debbie Hahn has worked very hard on this for many, many years. And then also, I think what I see, Ms. Lightburn, is that we've added additional BPK programs. So that's exciting to see, and we know early intervention is extremely important, so thank you for adding that.
And item 8.31, Florida Department of Education Mental Health Assistance Allocation Plan application. 8.32, agreement between the School Board of Okaloosa County and Okaloosa County Comprehensive Head Start. 8.33, Okaloosa County School District 2021 through 2022 Kindergarten Report Card.
And I'm sorry to keep.
That's why you're on the, that's why
I've
you're
worked
there.
on this for years, and I know the work that's put in on this kindergarten report card and also the importance of this report card. And I spoke with Denise Berry just a few minutes ago and asked if she would just take a second
Sure.
and just explain the process that she and the committee went through. It was very time-consuming, and I think it's something to be very proud of. And again, the parents, community to feel that I'll let you take it from there.
Good morning, Ms. Berry.
Good morning. So every year, the kindergarten report card has been updated. It's been reviewed by a committee of teachers. Well, we wanted something that was consistent over time where teachers could have honest conversations with teachers, or with rather parents, about their students' progress. So with the new best standards, new textbooks, this kind of precipitated the whole process. So we actually researched different types of kindergarten report cards across the state and found out we were one of the few that actually did not have a standards-based report card. We collaborated with Manatee County's curriculum department. After researching their report card, we found it was pretty user-friendly. We use this as a basis for this report card that you guys are reviewing today. Then we got together kindergarten teachers. We actually met with every principal and assistant principal in this process. The instructional coaches also had a hand in this. We actually then had open Zooms where every kindergarten teacher had the opportunity to review the report card and provide feedback. And so now you guys have the finished product, and we are now moving on to teacher education on how to implement, and parent resources as well.
Nice job, Denise. One
Yeah.
question.
Mhm.
Is there a plan for this to be on the school's websites or the district website so that parents can get a preview?
We're actually going to be developing a parent resource section
Great.
on the website, so they'll have updates as far as the expectations, and also in the Catch the Wave newsletter, there's going to be a kindergarten corner for parents so that they know quarterly and monthly expectations. And also, we're putting out newsletters to schools for parents, so there's going to be a lot of
That
parent
is
education.
great. I know parents would appreciate knowing what's coming, but also how they can support at home at that
Definitely.
very early learning age.
Mhm.
So that's great.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Ms.
And De-
Berry always
and
has a
Denise.
very thorough.
Yes.
Briefly discuss the open Zooms that will occur once the school year starts as well.
So beginning August 26th and beginning every other Thursday thereafter, we're going to have 2 open Zoom sessions, one in the morning for late start schools and one in the afternoon for kindergarten teachers to come on, and myself and Amy Dale will host those. We're calling them Connect with Kindergarten sessions, where then we're going to spotlight certain things within the report card, how to implement certain standards within the report card, and also we've been collaborating with instructional coaches on actually creating videos on how to implement certain things. So we have a lot in the works for collaborating with those kindergarten teachers to make sure that it is a smooth process.
It's great.
And-
Thank
This
you.
is fabulous.
Mhm.
I think it's
Well,
really
The
great.
development and the support that you are providing
Mhm.
is
Mhm.
outstanding.
We're very
Yes.
excited about
I'm
how
very
this, and I
excited
think that
for
it will
the
allow
teachers.
parents to really see where their student is in the learning process and what they can do to support
And
their
that's the most
students.
important thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
fabulous, yeah.
Dr. White, I believe, is going to have.
Yeah, just to say, I very much appreciate all of your work and the teachers and the principals and all the folks that were involved in this. I think it's safe to say from this old grandparent that kindergarten's not the way it used to be.
Oh, definitely not.
And given the fact that our students, ultimately these kindergartners, will be held accountable to how they perform on the various metrics that the state has ascribed in the following grades, in grades up the higher grades.
Definitely.
I think it's important, and I'm glad that you've done this so that parents know what you said, that they can see how their child is on track in meeting those standards that eventually they will have to perform to. So
Definitely.
very much appreciate you doing that and giving those parents that information.
Well, it was definitely a team undertaking from people within our department. Other department, MIS, has worked
Sure.
very well with us to be able to develop a online component for the teachers. And like I said, every kindergarten teacher had the opportunity, so.
I well remember long ago when we first delved into modifying the kindergarten report card, we had a packed board meeting.
I do know the
Because of all
importance of.
because you remember?
But I think what's nice is that we're introducing our parents to these standards from day one when they start kindergarten. We're not waiting till first grade.
That's right.
So again, they will become aware of what the expectations are,
expectations, yes.
standard base. And I just wanted her to share, because I know a little bit about
Yeah.
what all you've gone through on this, and it's been
It
very
is.
impressive.
A lot of
Great
work.
job.
you.
Great, thank you.
Great job.
Mr. Chambers, one thing I would just like to comment, and Denise, said a key word that I really think has been, part of your administration is consistency. And that's a good thing to have across the board. We're trying to be as consistent as we possibly can with these programs. And so, Ms. Berry, thank you very much for your hard work and the rest of your team that helped you out. So,
Consistency and collaboration seems to be a team.
yep. All right, so now we're going to move down to Section 9, Superintendent's Human Resource Recommendations. And on Monday night, items 9.1 and 9.2 will be informational only. So 9.1 is employees on administrative leave, and 9.2 is deferred retirement option program to drop. 9.3, department staffing restructure. 9.4, master contract between the School Board of Okaloosa County and the Okaloosa County Education Association. And 9.5, addendum to the master contract between the School Board of Okaloosa County and the Okaloosa Education Staff Professionals.
Mr.
Not-
Bryan, if you don't
Yes, sir.
mind.
Go
I
ahead.
saw you were going to speak. You can
No,
go
no,
ahead.
no, no.
I just want to take the opportunity again to thank Dr. Hale, Ms. Perry, the Finance Department, working collaboratively with Ms. Appleberg, Mr. Strong, and the unions to go through this process. We were able to get this done, I think in a very timely fashion, so we can go straight into the business of starting the school year. But just very much appreciate the work of all to bring this forward, so thank you.
Yes, I would, Dr. Hale, I'm sorry I didn't get to you sooner, but I was wondering if we could just have a brief clarification about this piece on drug testing of employees. I know that we don't overall drug test our employees, but there is a piece on here. If you could just do a quick clarification, I would appreciate it.
I didn't bring this in paper today, so I brought my laptop. with me.
Sure,
I
of
apologize
course,
for that, so
of
give me
course.
just one moment if you don't mind.
Certainly.
So the language that we agreed to at the table does include new drug testing for both bargaining units, both the ed support and the instructional. And the key is if there's a suspicion that an employee is on drugs or has an alcohol issue, that gives us the right to test them under the auspices that are given here. And the ultimate goal that the district took to the table was to make sure that we are taking care of things like workman's comp claims, being able to address those types of things in an appropriate manner. And so if there's an accident where there may be a suspicion, this language gives us the right to test them. And so if they're found to be on drugs or using alcohol, then that would absolve us from certain types of claims with regard to workman's comp and things like that. And that was ultimately the crux of this. This is not a gotcha. This is not a random drug testing situation.
That's
for
what I
employees.
wanted
We do
you
not
to
want to
say.
get into that business. It's
Mhm.
It's purposeful testing when there's a suspicion that there may be some down the road costs involved to the district. And certainly we want to make sure that our employees are not only safe but compliant with our expectations as well. So we do appreciate the unions working with us on this. There was a little back and forth at the table to make sure that the language was agreeable to both sides. And at the end of the day, we both had similar designs for what's best for the district and the employees, and so that's how we were able to come together on this particular language, and that is one that I specifically appreciated working with both bargaining units at the table, because that was truly a collaboration with regard to what's best overall, and so.
So on suspicion,
Yes.
that would be the employee's supervisor, whether it be their principal or whether if at district level, someone like that. So it would be, so if there's an accident, obviously you want to look at that and so forth, but not just because there's an accident. I mean, you know, if Lindy Vanchek's
Absolutely.
clumsy and falls down, not necessarily suspecting that she has a drug problem or
Right.
is using, but also, lost my thought that, oh, yeah, so you would not just automatically guess that, but there would probably be several factors involved in that.
Right, we're not going to subject anybody to a random drug test or to the whims. There's going to be a purpose and a suspicion behind it before we do. I did mention that we were interested in employee safety, but ultimately we're also interested in student safety as well.
Sure.
So if there's a legitimate concern, that's when this would kick in. But it's not arbitrary by any means, no ma'am.
And I'm sure that you have some protocol training in place for principals and other supervisors so that they understand this.
Well, so one of the things that I'm going to be talking about a little bit later when Mr. Chambers asks me to come up here is with regard to our Safe Schools training, and there are a litany of different items within that training that we
No
will be
doubt.
speaking to our principals about
No
that will
doubt.
further enhance their ability to make those calls.
Thank
Yes, ma'am.
you.
And just to what the comment being made here is that in the private sector, in most businesses, this is common practice right here. Just being able to have that ability. One, you know, you just won't be able to do a drug test on what you might think. There's legalities to that, but you know, if it does happen, you know, like you said, we're talking about student safety, but also we can help intervene in maybe that person's life and get them help. You know.
Yes, sir, and
So-
it's, I don't want to spend too much of my time
Right.
here now because a lot of this will be coming, but the BOG, which has memberships from both union bargaining groups and also the district, we have a keen eye on claims right now,
Mhm.
and anything that we can do that, you know, we start stacking as many bricks as we can that can fortify against
Sure.
ongoing claims and protect against increasing premiums. Anything along those lines, we're partnering on trying to make sure that we're doing some of those things. So
Right.
this is just one more piece into that puzzle as well. So I'll have more to talk about with regard to some of this a little bit later, but
I have a
I'm
question.
happy to answer any more
Yes,
questions.
Dr. White.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Hale. My question is for the board attorney, and Mr. McInnes, have you had a chance to look at this language and ensure that it conforms with Florida law?
The specific language here, no, but we have been looking at the drug-free workplace policy and those issues for a couple of years. And so this was an important component to get through the contract so that we can ensure then that your board policy is consistent and maintains those standards.
With drug-free workplace?
That's correct.
Excellent. All right, very good. And the last thing, and I appreciate your work and the union's work in pulling together a contract for all of our support employees, but I did notice a news item this morning, in fact, regarding bus drivers. And board members, you might have seen this, but Escambia County is saying there are 100 bus drivers short. And in fact, they've had to modify school start times because they can't run all the routes. And I think our neighbor Santa Rosa County said they were about 20 short. And what they said regarding us was that we were 10 short. Now, knowing the accuracy of some of these reports, I'm hoping that the superintendent and his staff will take a look at that and maybe give us a number that has more veracity than what the media says. However, I would just say this, finding bus drivers to bring our kids back and forth to school is a real issue, and I certainly hope that the district and the association can figure out some way to make that position more attractive so that we don't find ourselves in a situation that Escambia County is, where the superintendent and his staff are having to modify bus schedules and change school start times just to get our kids to school. I mean, that would really be a travesty, and in my opinion, I'm hoping that something can be done there.
Yes, sir, I do appreciate what you're saying. I did see the headline of the article, I hadn't read it, and I did not see that number that they attributed to Okaloosa. And I would say that that would be a number that would be maybe a step towards more manageable. I would say that we have many positions beyond that that would make us comfortable. And I hope to have some information for the board in the coming weeks about some additional measures we're taking to help recruit bus drivers. There's still some work to be done there. We've already made a lot of changes. As you know, the last board meeting, you guys voted on and approved an initial sign-on bonus for bus drivers. In previous years, we had agreed to finder's fees for district employees. That's again in place. Finder's fees. I say anybody that finds a bus driver and they can get all the way through training, they get a little incentive as well. And of course, we increased through last year's contract the incentive for a first-time bus driver to make it all the way through 1 year of driving. So we are leaving no stone unturned, and as I said, we've got more work that we are working on that I hope to bring to you guys in the near future. But your concern is real, and what I do know is this: I know that we are not in more dire straits than we have been in the past. We have great yeoman's people that work in the transportation shop that step up where they need to. We have people that are driving across the district that aren't even bus drivers to help.
Right.
And that's just one of the things that, not only in collaboration with the union to allow some of those things to happen in the past and maybe in the future, it's a testament to other employees holding hands and doing what it takes to get things done. And so that's one of the things that, HR is a hard place for me to work sometimes, but at the end of the day, that's those employees that kind of prop us up in HR and make things easier, because they're really a team.
Are we still being creative in allowing coaches and other teachers that
That was nice.
sponsor maybe clubs that have a CDL to help us out?
Well, that's one of the things that we're hoping to reinstitute this year, but we haven't gotten the final agreement together on that with the unions yet. But that is something that we are looking into, and I certainly don't want to speak about anything that might be considered in negotiation right now, especially since I don't
Understand.
want to create an issue on
I
the other side
understand.
of
I've
the table.
been
But
on
we-
that negotiating
Right.
team before myself, and I realize how difficult some of those conversations can be because they are multi-layered.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
And let me add,
Yes.
as Patrick comes up, as Mr. Strong comes up,
Whoa.
one of the things as it pertains to bus drivers that we've talked to Dr. Hale about, Mr. Horton about, is also getting with Mr. Strong and looking at some things of exactly what you've talked about. So we understand the pay structure for bus drivers. We understand the minimum wage piece that's coming. We understand some of the surrounding districts in terms of the hourly rate, but we also understand where we are. So we've put measures in place where we've taken away the lower scales to make sure that we can bump up the starting pay scale. So we've done that. We did it again this year. But the truth of the matter is, across the state, even with additional pay, it's still hard to get these bus drivers. So we know that we do not want to be in a situation like some other districts. So how do we get creative with some of the things that you spoke about, but even maybe other employees? So how do we get creative, but do it in a way where we're working collaboratively and make sure that there's a common sense approach to this? So I just appreciate the dialogue, and then we'll see where we go from there.
Yeah, the superintendent's certainly more elegant than me about that, but we've left no stone unturned. If you have any ideas, we're open to those. We even pulled board members' job descriptions to see if we could work that out.
Let me just insert, I've driven a bus.
Yeah, there you go.
And I
So-
well
so
recall
they'd probably be willing to
Superintendent
pay you overtime.
Sullivan told me that when he showed up for his first principal job, not only did he get the keys to the school, he got the keys to the bus.
Yeah. We could probably use some, so that's 5 positions there.
I can just tell you that, everywhere I've been over the last few weeks, every school that I go by, in any state that I've been in, there's a sign that's begging for bus drivers.
It's a difficult job.
It is.
Yeah.
It
Extremely
is.
Well,
difficult.
I think that's one of the issues, is the complexity
Yeah.
and the job itself, and
Yep.
being very, very difficult.
I think it's
And
gonna
then
be nice
given the
that-
pay status, it just makes it not terribly attractive, as
Right.
Escambia knows, and Santa Rosa knows, and looks like Okaloosa knows, and I'm not sure about Walton, but I'm sure that the superintendent and his staff will give us some feedback about their numbers too.
And I believe Santa Rosa, their buses are contracted out too, so,
That's right.
Even the contracted ones are having, where they have more flexibility than
Tough
like
job.
us. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't want to sound flippant, but I'm hoping those new big yellow buses and the air conditioner will be a little bit of an attraction. I know the job is still difficult, but there's something about not sitting in the heat and having a little air conditioner and a nice new bus that might be an attraction to get some drivers in. I don't know. But,
And I was going to add that they have seat belts to keep children in
There
their
you go.
seats.
Lock 'em down.
That's the key to
That's an issue.
bus
That
drivers.
is
keeping-
good.
That is big with our bus drivers.
Yes. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hale, and we'll be looking forward to hearing some more of your comments later. All right, so now we'll move to 9.6, cleared certification requirements and issuance of contracts for the 2021 through 2022 school year. 9.7, out-of-field report for the 2021 through 2022 school year. 9.8, employment separations. 9.9, personnel recommendations. 9.10, employee transfers. 9.11, reinstatement reimbursement of sick leave due to line of duty illness, injury, medical examination. 9.12, leave without pay. 9.13, proposed fiscal year 2021 through 2022 salary schedules for administrative, managerial, professional and technical, and temporary personnel. And then that will end section 9. So now we're to section 10. Right now, there's nothing that has been moved from the consent agenda. And then we are now to section 11, construction program owners representative business. And Dr. Kelly, I will turn it over to you.
Okay, we have had our program meeting and our report for July, so we'll have our next one the first Monday morning in August. I'll have a report then for you at that time.
All right, thank you, Dr. Kelly. And we do have 2 items we'll be voting on Monday night. 11.2, authorization for professional services agreement from Faithful and Gould for price validation for program number 6, task order number 14, Fort Walton Beach High School Boys Fieldhouse Roof Project. 11.3, program number 6, task order number 2, GMP district-wide school security upgrade project. Phase 3, final phase.
I want to have Dr. Smith come up a minute, please, if he doesn't mind.
Good morning, Dr. Smith.
Hey, Dr. Smith, thank you. Mainly, I just want you to talk about this. This is for the people to know, this is the final phase of the 1 point entry, right?
That's correct. This is the last for lack of a better word, batch of schools in our single point of entry and perimeter fencing project for our school security. This is 12 schools. It will basically abide by the same guidelines that we use to do all the other schools. It'll bring this last group in compliance, and they will all have been treated security-wise under the same standards.
And when do we anticipate this totally being finished, so we can say all of our schools have this single entry?
All these projects will be finished by the start of school next year.
So this school year should complete that. So it's been, what, a 3-year process?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Probably the last school to be finished will be Forosa, because the west side parking lot is also in this project, and we cannot start that until the end of the school year. Many of these other projects will be started during the school year, so that parking lot will probably be the last thing to be finished right before school starts of next year.
Well, I think this has moved along amazingly.
Yeah.
And thanks to you and others that have kept this on track. You know, we started this, and then we had a little pandemic, and so, but we continued, and I appreciate that you've stayed on this and kept this, because I think it's quite an accomplishment that we are just this school year out of having all that safety. These schools were, when they were built, some of them, they weren't planned to have this kind of process, so it's taken quite a bit to go in there and to do that and figure out how to do that. So I'm very impressed with your team and others who have worked on this. So thank you very much. But I just wanted you mainly to say that this will be it, and we'll be able to say that we have accomplished this.
Thank you, both the district staff and the Jacobs Titan team have been really great working with many of the obstacles that COVID put in our place. Fencing at one time had about a 6 or 7 month lead time on it just to get the fabric to put on the fences. The lock cores for our locking systems have had 5 and 6 month lead times. A lot of that finance has worked with us to advance order that stuff so it would be here and ready to go when it was needed. And we're a lot of obstacles, and I appreciate that, and thank you very much.
And may I just follow up
Yes, sir.
and ask a question regarding Mrs. Vanchek's comment? Concerning how this occurs. I know when I went by Meg's Middle School and they went to single point entry, it was a fundamental change in the layout, really, of the school. And so I'm wondering if you might just speak for a moment about how that occurs. I mean, how do you go into some of these schools and make decisions, and do we draw it up? Are there plans or just that kind of thing? Because I don't think we've ever really spoken regarding the details of how that
point.
process works. Do you do it, or who does it? How does that work?
It's a combination with our school principal, our teachers, our staff, administration of the district, the district staff, and the Jacobs Titan team. They hire the professionals to bring them in, the architects, the engineers. But you are correct, in many of these schools, it's a completely change in concept of how to get in and out of the school. Really the tough part was the first 5 or 6, because it was a retraining. But once we got 5 or 6 of those schools done, other schools saw it and they started kind of halfway implementing it before we actually got there, which made the ones on down the line a little easier. And that first 5 or 6, we learned as a staff and a group, because it had never been done before. We learned things that worked out really well and things that we didn't want to do again. So it was a learning process for us too.
And I think it's like Ms. Vanchek said, these schools really weren't built for this. And so when you try to go back and retrofit it to a single point of entry, sometimes, well, in the case of Meg's, for example, they had to move the entire front office. And I know there were architectural plans done for that, and I suspect in these schools that are coming forward that Jacobs has also done architectural plans, and that will follow, because it was quite an involved process, and to do that, things change. And I know at Meg's it changed fundamentally, and I suspect you'll see some changes at these schools too.
Dr. White, you're correct. Ferosa, Walker, and Blue Water will be a complete office move.
Wow. Okay. There you go. Okay. That's big.
Well, I'd just like to say a couple of things. First of all, kudos to all the staff, but not only are we living to a standard of excellence in security and safety, but I believe that you could probably say, Mr. Horton, that our standard of excellence for safety and security for our campuses is probably greater than the majority of other districts in the state of Florida. And that goes to your priority of consistency. And, you know, my favorite word is alignment. So everything in alignment, everybody gets a facelift. And to those schools that have already been substantially completed, I think our schools don't look so shabby now in comparison to the schools across the state. And for that, I am grateful. So thank you.
I have one more question. Talking about how a lot of these schools were not made to make changes, so when you go in and do that, it'd be like going in and remodeling your house. It's expensive. So could you just quickly address, because when people see the price tag, it's not cheap to do this, but how are we doing? Are we pretty much coming in on what we expected on our budget for doing all these?
For this batch, we had actually budgeted about $15 million, so we're inside our number.
Yep.
So we're moving along well, and that will be the number. If you're familiar with our Jacobs Titan contract,
Right.
that is the GMP, and that is the number. The only person that can change that number is the 5 of you.
So that's good. So we're not only accomplishing it, but staying pretty much on budget, which is great, because you didn't know what you were up against really till you got in there on
That's-
some of these schools. So
That's correct,
great.
and you are correct. Many of them are much more expensive than others.
Sure.
And does our Faithful and Gould price validation kick in here?
I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to mention that they are working on that as we speak. I've been on talking with them daily, and I hope to have that letter by you for you on Monday night.
Okay.
I do not have it at this point in time.
And so that's an independent from our vendor, price estimator, that matches or attempts to match, or in some cases may throw out the costs that we're given. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's a validation of the numbers that are done by the engineers and architect on our side.
Right.
It is everything, all the documents are sent to them. It is a separate independent validation.
So we're not just spending $15 million because our vendor says for us to do that. It's verified and validated before we spend those funds.
That is correct.
And I just want to add, very much appreciate this discussion here, because I know this board places a premium. The most important thing is the safety of our students and employees. And Ms. Ivanchek, the question that you asked, I very much appreciate the question of when is this going to be done? Going a step further, if we did not have these half-cent sales tax proceeds, Dr. Smith, when would this have been completed?
We would be in trouble. It would not be the beginning of next school year, most likely.
Correct.
Great,
So
good point.
just appreciate that, and Dr. Smith and his staff have done a great job going through this process, as well as many of the other processes as well. So just appreciate that.
Thank you.
And correct me if I'm wrong here, but all these safety measures were pretty much dictated by the state of Florida that we had to get these done. Now, like Dr. Kelly said, we are so far ahead of the game versus some of these other school districts. So that's a testament to our school district and to the citizens of Okaloosa County who have helped us by approving the half-cent sales tax, that we can get these things done first and foremost, which is the security of our schools. So we are very thankful to the citizens of Okaloosa County for supporting us with that. So, all right. Nothing on Section 12. And Mr. McInnes, you're up, sir.
Just wanted to let Dr. White, in regard to your request a while ago, the draft of Chapter 2 that's now before the board, under the internal funds section, there are recommended changes to those dates on those tickets.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
I have nothing else, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Mr. McInnes. And Section 14 is superintendent's business, and 14.1, out-of-state student trip request. And Mr. Chambers, I'll let you take over from here, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant and School Board. I just want to start off by saying we're a couple weeks away from the start of the school year. You can imagine that. July 30th being the first day that teachers have the opportunity to come back, even though many are already in the buildings already. As you know, pre-planning, a lot occurs during pre-planning, and there's still a lot that's occurring between now and that time frame. As you know, at the district level, there's a lot of planning in terms of professional development and just making sure that we're ready to roll on that first day. And at the school level, as you know, because you guys have been in the schools and you see what's occurring, principals, staffs are working extremely hard to be sure that they're ready first for their teachers to come back and employees, and then for the students. Just want to throw that out there. Also want to report to you, last Thursday we had our leadership summit. It was an excellent event. A lot of visionary topics were discussed, as well as expectations, as well as processes, and just again making sure that we're ready for the start of the year. I just want to thank Beachside Community Church for housing us. Very much appreciated. And the support that we got from the community for this event was really staggering in terms of what they did for our administrators, both at the school level and the district level. I'm just extremely grateful for that. Also want to give you a few curriculum updates. As you know, summer school was I might even say even a bigger deal than most years. And as you know, with the pandemic, learning loss is something that you've heard about. And we've kind of flipped that to accelerated learning. We want to accelerate the learning and focus that way. At the secondary level, as you can imagine, there are students who had to make up credits. So this is very interesting to me. In secondary grades 6 through 12, we completed 2,388 courses. 2,388 courses. The previous 2 years, we completed 1,159 and 1,472. So students coming to summer school, the addition of teachers to teach during summer school, principals and schools getting students to come to summer school, during a shortened summer, with everything that was going on, I'm just very appreciative to our schools, very appreciative of Ms. Lightbourne and her staff organizing summer school and getting that ready. So to me, that's monumental, because we're talking about students graduating. And then at the elementary level, as you know, normally the students who come to summer school are retained students, or level 1 and level 2 students. This year we also opened that up for students in general. So we had a good number of students for at the elementary level as well. So just wanted to report that. ESSER funds. So ESSER 2, we just received some word, I believe it was yesterday. So now they've opened up, and let me take a step back. As you remember, ESSER 2, we received the first allotment of ESSER 2 funds a while back, but the second allotment, we were in a waiting game, as well as the entire state, in terms of when that was going to occur. So now they've sent out information, so we will be filling out our application. These remaining dollars are extremely important to our school district starting this school year. So we feel grateful that that has come, and we'll be able to fill that out. Ms. Perry, Mr. Horton, Ms. Lightbourne, Dr. Hale, and myself will be working through this, and also with staff, to make sure that we have a very good plan in place. But again, cannot stress the importance of these funds.
And Superintendent, might I just ask a question for the public's benefit? These funds, these are funds from, where did they come from, Ms. Perry, Mr. Chambers? I mean, I think
So
we
these-
all know,
Yep.
but it may be that our acronyms, sometimes the public might not know. And,
Yes, so these are federal dollars that then come down to the state and then make their way to school districts.
So these are not local tax dollars, for example. These are federal funds that came to
Correct.
the school district.
Correct. And just for the board's knowledge, and I know that you may know already, but maybe not down to the penny. So the approximate remaining funds that'll come to us will be $12,407,851.
And how is that money supposed to be used?
Say it one more time.
What is the conditions of using that
Federal
money? We just
streams
can't.
of tax.
Right.
So there's multiple categories. Some is
Right.
learning loss, some could be infrastructure. So there's different categories of
Right.
how you have to spend this. And also, these funds also go to our local charters as well. There's a percentage that go there
Right.
as well.
Right.
And I'm glad you said that, because I think the one word that the public needs to know about funding with public education is a word called categorical. That even though we're given money, we don't all just sit up here and say, oh, we think it should do this, we should think that. Most of the money we get is sent to us with stipulation of how it's to be used and how we can utilize that. So even though this is a lot of money, it doesn't mean that we have a free-for-all to do what we can do. And a lot of times, it is not money that goes to employees. So that's a whole different thing. But we're grateful to have it, and there's a lot of things we can do with it. But just to clarify that, because I think sometimes people don't understand that the money is not ours to do with what we want.
And
you're
not
right.
only does it come to us in categories or categoricals, it does have accountability measures attached. So we are not just free to just use it and decide where it goes, but we also have to keep that trail of accountability, because we will be called on for that in audit trails.
That's significant. And on this topic, to be very specific, so these are some of the categories. So non-enrollment assistance, so that's finding maybe students who weren't in school during the pandemic. Academic acceleration, technology assistance, learning loss, facility upgrades, mental health services. So there's very specific, like you've shared, categorical areas where these monies will be spent.
And the other thing, I know we're going to have a budget workshop later, but the other thing about these funds we have to look at too is that we have to make sure that we're using them on things that are not going to be recurring expenses, that in the future we don't have those funds, because this eventually is going to run out. And it's nice to have it now, but eventually the pot's going to go empty, and we're not going to get these funds. So whatever we have and whatever we do, we have to be able to sustain beyond ESSER or whatever funding we get from the government or the state.
Well said.
And speaking of that, and I'm not sure that instruction is one of the categories that these funds might be spent upon. But at least for me, and I'm not sure if my colleagues concur, but I'm hoping that it might be possible to work out some way that we might can lend some more assistance to our band programs, because I know that they suffer tremendously in terms of equipment and that kind of thing. I know that we provide some of that to them ourselves, and if that's something that might be worked into this as you bring your budget forward, I would certainly appreciate it, and I'm not sure how my colleagues feel about it, but I know that I've heard that there might be some areas of need there, and if that's possible, and it may not be, because as you said, these funds, as Ms. Ivanchek said, perhaps may be prohibited from doing that, but it's just a thought.
And again, appreciate that. In ESSER 2 or ESSER 3, you're going to see a line item for band. As many of you may know, a lot of our band instruments in Okaloosa County, some could be 10 years, some could be 15 years. They're very, very expensive as well. So right now our plan is to utilize some of these funds for that. Mr. Horton has also carved out, or proposing to carve out some dollars in the capital budget as well. So this is an opportunity to look at some of our band programs as well as other areas, but specific to band, that's one of the areas that we are looking at, and I do appreciate that conversation.
Well, I just wanted to put it on the table. And,
Absolutely.
And I expect that you'll be bringing forward that budget, Ms. Perry, once you guys have worked out all the various items to the board
Yes.
for board approval before it's implemented.
Correct.
Very
I
good.
think we have as of yesterday, I think we have an August 12th deadline on that.
Oh, wow. Okay. Very good business.
Well, and I think it's safe to say, Dr. White, that yes, our wonderful and excellent band directors in our district, they're not afraid to tell us when they need things,
that's
and I appreciate you saying that, and I would concur with you too that I think that would be a great investment to an already awesome program that we have. So thank you for
Yes,
that.
sir. And it's instruction. I mean,
It
there's
is.
no question. It's
Well,
instruction.
the good thing about music is you can take that to the grave.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And it's something that you can continue to do and pass that on. And unlike sports, there comes a point to where you have to finish.
That's right.
So, all right. Anything else, Mr. Chambers?
Still have a few more things.
Go
few
ahead.
More things. Just a little bit of a half-cent update. As you mentioned at the beginning of this meeting, we will have Ms. Ankers, who will be here on Monday. She's going to give an update on the Oversight Committee, and that's also part of your resolution that we put forward. So we're excited about that. The task order 11.3 that Dr. Kelly also referred to, that Dr. Smith came up and explained, so just appreciate that again, moving forward with safety. And then we do have, we're completed with the planning and design phase, as Dr. Kelly has mentioned before, on some of our classroom additions, those cafetoriums, those multi-purpose rooms, and so forth. So now we'll be bringing that GMP forward. So to me, and I know to you all as well, this is a very exciting time, because when we start doing those things, we're going to see a lot of, I'll just use the word changes right now loosely at some of our schools. And when you start looking at cafetoriums, with the growth that we've had, so that'll be a significant impact, not only to the food program, not only to the space, but also to the academic environment as well, because you'll be able to get more students in a cafeteria, which then could also lead to less waves. So that impacts instruction. So I wanted to share that as well. And then the last thing I'm going to share, and then I'm going to ask Dr. Hale to come forward, is back to school information for families. And I know you all like to have this information. We're partnering with United Way, so Mr. Horton's working with them right now on the Stuff the Bus event. So we know that's going to happen on July 31st. You'll see school buses at Walmarts at different parts of the county, in Crestview and Fort Walton and Niceville locations from 9 to 1. and Mr. Horton will get some of that information to you as well. A lot of our local businesses and community folks will be dropping off some supplies for our students, so that's a big deal. So again, just another example of the community coming together to help the students of Okaloosa County. So just very much appreciate that. And like I said, Mr. Horton will make sure that we get some information out to you all, so you're very well of this as well.
And all
Dr.
those are
Hale?
the same day? All the
July 30
locations
July
are the same day?
31st. Yes, ma'am.
The 31st, okay, thanks.
Good to see you again, sir.
Long time no see.
I know.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I just wanted to, we are getting ramped up for back to school in a lot of areas, and human resources is no different. This is absolutely our busiest time of year, so I just kind of wanted to give you a what's going on in HR report just very briefly, just so that you know. And of course, Mr. Chapman was here earlier giving you an equity report, so those are the types of things that we are doing continually. He's part of the Human Resources Department as well, so I was glad that he was able to come here and let you know. But just so that you know, in terms of the state of our district, in terms of hiring, we've had 626 applications processed to this point through the Human Resources Department in all categories, whether that be subs, ed support, or instructional. And as just some categorical updates for you, to use the theme, categoricals. Substitutes, we are approaching 600 active and approved, ready to roll substitutes on day one. And there's still several in various states of approval, whether it's to complete the mandatory abuse training or things like that. But we do have a significant number of substitutes that are on deck and ready to go. I will say, and I'm going to get into the support and instructional numbers as well, but I will say that there are several that are in the sub roster that are also in play for some of those positions, so that might not be a completely 100% accurate number, because hopefully some of them will be hired for some of these positions that we have outstanding. In terms of support personnel, so far this year, we've completed 40 new hires from beginning to end, all the way through across the district, and there's another 30 that are in process right now, just waiting for the final stages, whether it be the newcomers or the fingerprints. They've been agreed upon, so to speak, but they just have one or two things left to do before they can actually engage our kids. So that'll turn out to be a 70 process by the end of this week. 51 transfers within the district, so that's 70 plus 51 there's been 121 movements across the district in terms of support personnel. Currently, we have 86 active postings in the ed support realm. Now, a lot of those are things that we've talked about previously. The lion's share have to do with paras, 25 ESE para positions that are posted out there, 11 non-ESE para positions, and then the rest of them, the bigger groups that remain are in the area of lunchroom monitors and cleaners and things of that nature. Now, we'll say at our ed support job fair that we had recently, there was a lot of interesting things by the principals that were there trying to create multiple jobs made up of lunchroom monitors and cleaners to make them full-time and things like that. So our principals are actually getting creative as they're talking about some of these positions that we're finding notoriously hard to fill. So a lot of things going on in the ed support realm in that regard. Instructional, we've had 132 new hires, and I need to preface this. All the instructional information that I'm going to give you is underneath the overarching comment that we have been very conservative. Once again, Mr. Horton and his staff, Ms. Perry and her staff, in giving allocations. So these are not excess positions that we're talking about. These are very conservatively allocated positions in the instructional realm that we're talking about. 40 completed, 29 that are just, a newcomers or fingerprints away. So basically, I'm sorry, 132 plus 54, I went back to look at the ed support. So 132 complete, 54 in the last stages, so that's 186 new hires as a result of vacancies in that conservative model, 114 transfers across the district from one school to the next. So, and just because I know that you will typically ask, the breakdown is a lot like this. The remaining postings that are out there, there's 22 in the elementary realm, 19 in middle, 5 in high, and of course our student intervention services has quite a few with regard to mental health counselors, school psychologists, speech and language pathologists. Those are kind of rotating, always out there. We're looking for them. So there's still room in Okaloosa with regard to those things. I will tell you that I've done a little bit of research. There is still a qualified candidate pool out there for most of these positions, and the ones that where there's a very small pool of qualified applicants applying for the jobs, we're going out and putting those on Indeed and some other methodologies to try to get these things filled. So once I get all of that information in the online environment, I know that a lot of us in this room right now are quick to share some of these postings, and I would ask that you guys share those once I get those to you. So that's kind of the way hiring is going right now. Postings, there's still room in Okaloosa, and we're obviously interested. But there is also a lot of qualified candidates that remain, and the principals are working very, very hard to get their staffs in place in the next couple of weeks. So there's that. And then just a couple of more things that I like to say, and I want to be brief. Risk management. I mentioned earlier that the BOG, the district, the risk management department, we're working very, very hard with schools and principals to work to reduce claims. And so safe schools training is going to become a very big part of that. That's online training that's provided by FSBIT, which you guys all know who that is. And so we've been working really, really hard to work with individual schools on their claims areas and providing mandatory trainings that the principals will work through their pre-planning calendars to make sure that we are all addressing these needs, because ultimately the result is fewer claims will result in better premiums for us, and that's what we're looking to do. But I just wanted to give Russ Frakes and Krista Shea a little tip of the cap over there, because they've done a lot of work to create a platform whereby which we can get these trainings out in a very focused way to these schools. So much so that FSBIT actually asked Russ to present to the other FSBIT members in the last meeting that they had on what Okaloosa is doing, because it's so systematic, so purposeful, and so efficient. And in fact, he then did that presentation, and he's actually been he's been inquired whether he can talk to the Florida School Boards Association as well. So you may be seeing him down the road presenting safe schools or some other type of change is the theme for the meeting that's coming up, some change-related presentation by Russ Frakes. So very, very encouraged to see how that's going to work out. These online trainings have proved very successful, especially during the pandemic when we had the shutdown. A lot of good feedback from employees, so we're looking for good results there. And then just one final piece of information for you guys. Lindsay Maxey's last day with us for quite some time was just a couple days ago. She is on maternity leave, and we are proud to say that Palmer James Maxey is now a new member of the Okaloosa County Future School District. 7 pounds 9 ounces. Mom and child are doing well. No report yet on how Granddad Jeff Palmer's doing. So.
Well, I have one question, and my gosh, it just slipped. Not question, but comment, but FSBIT and risk management. And I appreciate you recognizing Russ and his team. I know over the last couple of years, being with FSBIT, being the representative, I've asked Mr. Chambers to really take a look at that department and let's utilize what FSBIT has to offer to us. And not only did he do that, obviously with his support and letting Russ do his job, here are the fruits of the labor. We're now one of the model districts. Mm-hmm. And so I did want to just say thank you to Mr. Chambers and, getting behind that. And I know you meet with Russ. You tried to meet once a month. That was my request to, meet with him monthly. And I know speaking with Russ, it's really exciting to see all the things that risk management's doing for us and will do for us to help us be not only a model school district, but one that is, doing the safe programs. We're encouraging safe work habits and things like that. So that will help reduce the workers' comp claims, things like, those that take away from instructional time when somebody goes out, that hurts, So if we can work to educate our employees on the benefits of working in a safe environment and making safe decisions, that in the long run, that's a benefit to not only us, but our students too, because they're still in the classrooms, the teachers are, so.
Thank you for that.
Yep.
Yes.
But I just wanted to say thank you to Mr. Chambers for, doing that, and obviously we're seeing some benefits from it, so.
Thank you, and I don't want to walk away. I'll walk away as
But-
I'm saying this, but.
Sorry,
Oh,
but
oh,
one more. Is
go
it
ahead.
still at 4 hours that the employees will gain insurance?
Yes.
Okay, so you mentioned earlier about the combined positions, so if
Mhm.
anybody's out there looking
Mhm.
for positions, needing insurance, so they may want to look at the 2.5 hours and then maybe add the custodial so that the insurance will kick in at that point. 'Cause, I mean, we
Absolutely.
know how much expensive the insurance is, we've got great district insurance, so that would be an incentive for those individuals.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
If they will do those combined positions to gain that
I do appreciate you
insurance.
saying that, and I'm sorry that I didn't mention that
No,
when I
no,
was talking about the
that's-
creativity about the principals, because that really is the
Oh, yeah,
point, to
are you-
get
yes.
two birds with one stone and to take care of the employees at a greater rate. So I do appreciate you saying that.
Sometimes just monitor at 2.5 hours, that's not really an incentive for
Right.
individuals to come in, but if they will pick up some of these other positions, then that insurance will kick in.
Absolutely.
And that really does add up when you're talking about the pay.
It's a very big deal.
Big deal.
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
think we all
appreciate
know
that.
the cost of insurance now.
And
Well, I
again,
can
as
just
I'm-
tell you the 4 years that I was not with the school district and bought my own insurance at the level that the district pays for, it was right at $1,000 a month
Mhm.
for my insurance.
Right, and as I said, and this was going to be my walking away point, I do appreciate that. Mr. Strong, Ms. Appleberg, and Ms. Cox, and myself on the BOG, we're really working hard at making efforts to do everything we can to chip away at the premium in the things that we can control. So I do appreciate their efforts as well. We are all kind of partnering because we all have the same end in mind, which is great coverage, reduced costs. And so everything from claims to looking at our providers very aggressively are some of the things that we're going through right now. So I'm very happy with that partnership, and also knowing that we're going to make some headway, but it's like chipping away. Not only does it involve the things that we do, but it involves a culture change and understanding inside the schools, and so the education piece is a big part of it, and that's where the training comes in. So
And when do you anticipate sharing where we are on that with us?
in terms of the trainings or the results or the,
What the BOGs come up with as far as the package?
well, we can give some, I'm not prepared to talk about that today.
Sure,
We have
that's-
meetings
yeah.
coming up, and we've also got some other related meetings that the BOG's going to be going into in the next couple weeks. So
Mhm.
I don't have a time frame yet, but I will get that to you as soon as I can put something
Sure.
together. Is that fair enough?
Certainly,
Okay,
yeah.
sorry about that.
No, that's okay,
Wasn't
just
prepared for that
curious.
question.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Hale. Mr. Chambers?
And that is it.
All right. Always informative. Thank you, sir.
Mhm.
So now we'll move to board members' announcements and requests for information, and I will start with Dr. Kelly today.
Oh, thank you. Well, I just want to lightheartedly follow up on something that Mr. Strong said, and you're absolutely right. It's not in our job description, and I have not driven a bus, not yet, but I have substituted since I've been a board member for a couple of classrooms, and I have proctored for testing every single year that I've been on the board. I filled in for a school secretary during the period they were without, and they were going through their interview process and making that important staffing decision. And I've happily purchased supplies and back-to-school teacher food, and will do so anytime a principal asks me to do that, out of my personal pocket, by the way. So just to say, I appreciate you bringing that up. Love that you looked at our job description, and love that we can be jovial about all of these things that are really serious. So thank you, Patrick. And then I had a couple of congratulations and a couple of thank yous. And some of these I'll probably mention again Monday night, so forgive me for being redundant, but these are important. The first one will tag on to one of Mr. Chambers' initiatives, and that is to make our district a purple ribbon school district regarding our relationship with the military. I just wanted to extend a hearty congratulations to Colonel Jason Grandy, who was last week took command of the 919th Special Operations Wing and at Duke Field last week. And I have to brag, too, that he has a stellar student, or had. She's a recent graduate of Niceville High School, Addison Grandy, or Addie. And so not only is he serving us in the military, but providing us with a wonderful student here, too. So congratulations again to Colonel Grandy. Along that same vein, congratulations to student from Niceville, Landon Taylor, daughter of the Taylors who work at Niceville High School. Landon was named recently to the Distinguished Women of Okaloosa County's Class of 2022. So again, another outstanding student from our area. The last congratulations for this time is to Jim Bagby for being recently elected to Destin City Council. And of course, we all know that Jeannie served her whole career here in guidance, and we certainly appreciate that family for continuing to support us as a school district. Then a couple of thank yous. First one goes out to Bit Wizards. Everyone knows of my detailed passion for Hope Squad, which is a teen mental health suicide prevention program, and helped Ms. Brockman bring it to our district and others. So I wanted to thank Bit Wizards and their new foundation called Be the Magic for providing quite a substantial scholarship donation to the Hope Squad. So thank you to Vince Mayfield, Heather Ruiz, and your other magical staff for that donation. And I'd also like to thank our Board of County Commissioners in Okaloosa County for including the school district and their recent fiber optic network. And of course, that comes from CARES Act dollars too, but nonetheless, they did not have to extend that to us, and I wanted to thank them for thinking of and for including our school district in their CARES Act dollars allotment. And I wanted to ask one thing, if you could consider, and this will be my final comment for today. Out of those ESSER fundings, I heard you mention that one of the categoricals was technology. Could we consider something that actually Mr. Palmer and I had discussed when he was principal at Niceville, looking into Tidal Wave or another product that would be an online library across our schools and for all students, that's accessible through the cloud and by any student with any device. And I believe that particular one is by Follett, and I know that most of our libraries use Follett as one of their major vendors. It might be something we could tag on to, but I think that would be wonderful for our students to have access to libraries at home and in that format, and certainly for teachers who could have all their classes read a class set of novels without having to buy the class set of novels. And certainly in times like a pandemic, students could keep up with their summer reading and other reading at home. So.
Yes, ma'am, we will look into that.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Dr. Kelly. And Dr. White.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to say that I am appreciative, and I know that my colleagues on the board are as well, for all the work that you folks put into the administrative retreat. I often joke about how old I am, but I remember back in the old days that we never had such a thing. And I remember the first time it was mentioned that we were going to have an administrative retreat. I thought, why in the world would we do that? But now what I know
I said the
is
same thing.
because of all the changes and all of the things that occur in our nation and in our legislature, that I just don't know how folks could possibly keep up with all the things they have to do if you good folks didn't call them together and apprise them of all those different things that are occurring. And also appreciate the fact that our board attorney was there and offered some legal training to our folks that is very, very much needed. And we just appreciate all that good work. And I now know that it's very needed. And thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
That's all I have, Mr. White.
Well, if I can follow up on that, Dr. White, I know myself and I believe Ms. Vanchek was there different times, but what I appreciate about this Leadership Summit is how it brings all the teams together in one venue. And I think that's one reason why you see the success throughout the county and the willingness to work with each other, because you're bringing them together at one time. It's a big pep rally to begin with, but when you're around your colleagues, you get that opportunity to talk to them, and it makes it easier when you have to reach out to another colleague, another school for assistance and all that. And I think that's one reason why we're so successful on the administrative level in our schools, is because they're not afraid to reach out to each other, and they have that opportunity to collaborate at this Leadership Summit, and that makes it easier for them to reach out when they need help or ask questions or anything like that. So that's what I get out of it, was just the bringing of the team together, so the team atmosphere. So
Thank you.
Ms. Vanchek, I'll go to you next, ma'am.
Well, I'll just follow up on that because you mentioned it kind of had a pep rally. I think it was good, and I thought some people would have really enjoyed seeing those administrators singing along with Bon Jovi cover band. I thought it was a lot of fun.
At 7:30 in the morning.
At 7:30 in the morning. Only educators can do that, but
Educators.
it was great to see all of them. They have great attitude, and it was a good way to get, it just was nice to see everybody together again, just to be able to be in the same room. So I want to thank your staff who worked on that. I don't want to name people because I'll miss somebody, but there's a lot of people that worked on that, and I'll appreciate, I know that takes a lot of organization. Appreciate that and the invitation to be able to come. I really enjoyed it. Couple other things. First of all, Patrick, I'm thinking more and more about that bus thing. Yeah, so I'll get with you, so. Yeah, you know, I have a former student who works in this area, I might have to get with her and see if she'll give me some pointers there.
There's finder fee.
Yeah, I know, she can do that, so, yeah. Next thing, kind of a public service thing, is that I spoke with Mr. Bill Dillman, who's the director of Goodwill there in Fort Walton off Bill Parkway, and he told me to try and get the word out, or asked me to try to get the word out to teachers or to parents that they have a lot of nice books. People throw away or give away good, nice books, and most of these are on the elementary level, and for whatever reason, he said that it would be something they could sell, and that you can just walk in and say, I want the books. So these teachers, particularly that starting out new, that need books, class sets of books, or parents to back up some on the reading, just go in there and tell them that you want those books, and you can have those. And final word is that, you know, I was sitting here thinking, back in the day, there used to be these little kind of almost bumper sticker things that said, the best part of education is June, July, and August. Well, you don't see those anymore, because if everybody thinks that education is 9 months a year, no, it is 12 months a year, and sometimes it's 24 hours a day. But just want to appreciate that, you know, we, not just the board, but all the people, the school-based and here at the district, work very, very hard. And this has been a very short summer. And I don't know that everybody understands what that really means in getting ready, but everyone I've spoken to has a great attitude. They're excited. Everybody's upbeat about this new school year and moving back to that new normal. And I just feel like our district didn't just survive, but we continued to thrive. And we've talked about so many ways that we've done that, you know, today with the construction and the different pieces. And I think this next school year is going to be a really great one. I'm looking forward to it. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Ivanchek. And Ms. Gardner.
I just want to do a shout out to our high schools, the top rankings, and I apologize, I had that article ready to bring so I could give the percentiles, but our perfect, beautiful 6-week-old granddaughters with us right now, so I'm lucky to be here. But again, what an outstanding, all of our high schools scored in the top, not only in the state, but also national scoring. So just a shout out to those in the high schools. That is, I know, quite a difficult job right there. So congratulations to all of those high schools. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Gardner. And Mr. Chambers, I do have a couple of items I would like to request. Since Ms. Ankers is going to be here Monday night, and can we get maybe Ms. Perry can give us an update? Because when I drive around to our beautiful county, and I'm sitting in traffic on Okaloosa Island, and I look at all the license plates, they're not from Okaloosa, they're not from Florida, they're from other parts of the country. Can we get an update on what our projected revenue will be from the first year of the half-cent sales tax? Obviously, because our governor has let us remain open and have somewhat of a normal life. That's why all these people are flocking to our state. But can we get an update on what our projected income is going to be for the first year of the half-cent sales tax?
Well, we'll do that, and I don't want to speak for Ms. Perry, but I think we could even potentially do that as early as Monday.
Okay. And then my second request is, what is the percentage of students that are returning back to brick and mortar pre-pandemic? Are we going to be pretty much where we were pre-pandemic, or are we still going to be lagging behind? So I'd just like to be able to get that information, and that's not something that necessarily has to be done Monday night, and it can also be sent out to us individually. But I'm just curious to see what our numbers are looking like, pre-pandemic versus, going into the beginning of the school year. So,
Yes, sir.
all right. And that is it for me, and we'll just move down to Section 16, and this will be the 2-minute version of public comment, and then Section 17, 13 items on public hearing, and 12 of those items belong to Ms. Perry. So
Go
we
Ms. Perry.
put you to work. Okay, so the first one is 17.1, public hearing for adoption of revised School Board Policy 01-29, public health emergencies. Item 17.2, required local effort millage rate. 17.3, basic discretionary operating millage rate. 17.4, capital outlay millage rate. 17.5, total millage levy. 17.6, Resolution 21-03, adopting the tentative millage rates for the fiscal year 2021 through 2022. 17.7, Okaloosa County School District preliminary and tentative budget general fund for the fiscal year 2021 through 2022. 17.8, Okaloosa County District preliminary and tentative budget special revenue funds, food service for fiscal year 2021 through 2022. 17.9, Okaloosa County School District preliminary and tentative budget special revenue funds federal programs for fiscal year 2021 through 2022. 17.10, Okaloosa County School District preliminary and tentative budget debt service fund for fiscal year 2021 through 2022. 17.11, Okaloosa County District preliminary and tentative budget capital project funds for fiscal year 2021 through 2022. 17.12, Okaloosa County School District preliminary and tentative budget for fiscal year 2021 through 2022. And then 17.13, Resolution 21-04, adopting the Okaloosa County School District preliminary and tentative budget for fiscal year 2021 through 2022.
And can I just say on that how much I appreciate Ms. Perry, those phone calls where she explains down to the depth of what the change is, but why it was changed and how it would impact us. Those are very meaningful conversations, and for you to have just stepped into this big role, I just want you to know how meaningful it is and how much I appreciate it.
Well, and I will just also echo on the fact that I appreciate all of Mr. Chambers' staff reaching out to us before these meetings and going into great detail on some of the line items that are on here. It helps us be better prepared when we come into these meetings. And so with that communication piece in place, it helps our workshops go by a little bit quicker.
And it also explains to the public why a lot of times we just move past item to item to item, because we've already had that very diligent conversation with staff members and we understand completely what it is, so we
Yes.
no longer have a question when it gets to the workshop portion of our meeting and our business.
Okay, so before we adjourn, Ms. Perry, anything? I know you're going to be up here in about 45 minutes. And then Dr. Hale, Mr. Strong, Ms. Applebird, Ms. Lightbourne, Mr. Horton. Come on up, Mr. Horton.
Thanks, Mr. Bryant. Just following up on Dr. Kelly's comment about the county agreement and the fiber optic network in our schools. That is that there's a two-part to that, so it'll come to this board for approval at the upcoming meeting, and it will be important to know that the funds we were expending for internet service connectivity between our schools, we'll be able to eliminate that, and so we're going to support some of the maintenance piece on the fiber optic, so it'll be a cost savings to the district in addition to providing increased bandwidth. So thank you for bringing that up. It'll
Thank
come
you.
to
And I think that savings is about $220,000+ a year?
Not quite.
More?
We'll be able to decrease. We'll still get Cox Internet into our main hub here at Central, but how we distribute it around to all of our schools and our network, that cost that we are currently paying the telecom, we will no longer have to do that.
That's
So
good.
it'll be significant, but not quite that much, but still significant.
And that's
will
really good.
our-
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, will our more remote schools like Laurel Hill and Baker, will that increase their abilities?
So they will be part of that network as well, and so the opportunities to do the dig work all throughout the county. So the
Great.
beautiful thing is we'll be able to look at our schools and increase bandwidth with the push of a button or two from our school district, instead of relying on having to call the telecom and getting that done over a period of time. So it'd be really good to be strategic in that.
Good.
All right, well, this meeting's adjourned.
Okay.